This is A Seat at the Table, where we talk about the work, the grit, and the moments that changed everything. Pull up a chair. The conversation continues.
And that conversation is with Amy Jo Anderson. And we were just talking about you were in the Air Force, you were in Las Vegas coordinating the air shows. You eventually left that and you got into entrepreneurship. In fact, I believe you call yourself a serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
What was your very first venture into that?
I did. It was time to bring my son home and be around real Texas men. God bless you all. And so when I decided I wanted to move back, I had a relationship already with the creators of the Tilted Kilt Pub and Eatery that was in the Rio Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. And they knew that they wanted the franchise to move here to Texas. And so they approached me about it, and they were like, hey, if you're going to move home, we'd like you to be the person that franchises Texas. And I said, oh, my gosh, that's amazing. That's a huge opportunity, and I would love to accept that opportunity and go for it. So before I was Amy of Anderson Landscape, I was Tilted Kilt Amy. And so I brought the first Tilted Kilt in Texas here, and I had the franchise rights to franchise everything from Williamson County to Corpus Christi. And so when I first got here, it was one of those situations where some people greeted it with open arms. Other people were very hesitant, which was understandable. It was a new concept. It was different. And so I had to get out there and figure out how to, first of all, expose the brand, the recognition of it, and be able to secure a location, secure other investors to get the full capital that I needed, and be able to open the restaurant within 2 years, which was my timeline to get the first one open and on the ground.
So is that something that the owners in Las Vegas, they give you a timeline like that?
Yes, all of that was in the franchise agreement. And so I had a timeline to do all of that. So I had to reach out. I reached out to the bank in Georgetown that I was with at the time, and I was like, listen, I'm looking for local investors that might be interested in opening a restaurant franchise here. This is what it's about. And so luckily, these two individuals that I met with had already been to the location in Vegas, and they were very inspired by the concept. One of them actually had other restaurant ventures, so he was aware of it. And then the other partner had other businesses that were in Williamson and Travis County as well, but had not been in the restaurant business before.
So I have a question for you, because I think that there's an interesting, dynamic between startup businesses, organic startup businesses, which you have one now, versus franchise startup businesses.
Correct.
And I always laugh because I have a great friend who owns a franchise, and we always talk about how the grass is always greener on the other side, right? Mm-hmm. From your perspective, what do you think the benefits were of starting up a franchise business as your first venture versus doing it organically on subsequent ventures that you started?
For me, because I came out of the military where there's the little procedural books that go along with all of it, that's the benefit. In the very first time you open something, it's good to have that, because that's what a franchise gives you. It gives you the TO manuals, if you will, of how to run this business. It's already been done for you once. Here's the cookie cutter manual of how to operate, how to run things. And then, of course, you've got the franchise owners, the franchisors, coming in and checking things to make sure you're doing it right, everything looks correct according to the franchise manual and the way that it should be operated and run. And if you do all of that just right, supposedly, if you did your market research correct, it should be fine. You should make money, and you should be able to open another location.
Is there any flexibility in it to where you can impart your own personality, maybe your own way of running business, or
Typically
is it strictly...
Typically not. Typically, they've done all of that research for you already, and they don't really want you to finesse any of the looks, any of the menu items, any of the atmospheric aspects of it. And that's because they've already done a lot of that research for it, or it's an egotistical thing, honestly, and they've already created all of that stuff the way that they want it to look, and so it's their branding strategy that they want.
But financially, it's all on you?
Most of it is all on you. And the bonus is you get to pay them $4 to $8 to $10,000 a month out of your proceeds just to put their logo up.
Yeah, it's interesting.
How cool
Now,
is that?
There are like varying degrees of franchises, right? Like you
Yes.
have some that are a little bit more done for you, some that are more helpful, more engaged in the everyday day-to-day, more resources and stuff.
Yes.
Did you do any research before? Or I mean, I just want to know, were you interested in getting into a franchise and so you just made that connection with Tilted Kilt? Or was it more of Tilted Kilt was the opportunity and you just took it as a franchise?
I had done a lot of research, actually, because honestly, when I had gotten out, I had received a very substantial inheritance. And I knew I was going to start a business. I knew I had the skill set underneath me, the background behind me, the work ethic, and I knew I was going to start a business when I moved to Texas. I knew from my colleagues and friends at the Tilted Kilt that it was a no-brainer moneymaker. I also knew, because there wasn't any in Texas at that point in time, and because of my research, that because of the menu, the way that we had the menu, and the numbers that Hooters had, there was no reason the concept would not blow those numbers out of the marketplace.
Am I just super sheltered? I've never even heard of this. Have you heard of Tilted Kilt?
Yeah, there was one in Round Rock. Was that yours?
That was mine.
Yeah, there
Oh.
was one in Round Rock, and the concept was very much like a Hooters, except for it was kilts instead of shorts.
Correct. And a full bar menu, and the menu was different. But yeah, so long story short, opened that up with 2 good partners and 1 really horrible one.
So I that brings me to my next question. At what moment did you think, what have I gotten myself into? You were excited about this, and then things started to change?
Yeah, the day I got served with a lawsuit from one of my business partners because I was, quote unquote, financially unstable because I was a single mother and I did not have as much liquid capital as he had. However, the truth was that was 2004, 2005. That was the first time ever. That was Katrina and Rita, and also the end of the Iraq War. That was the first time that we had a 100% shift in our gas prices from roughly $1.60 per gallon to $2.80 or $2.80 a gallon in less than 2 months.
Hey, that sounds familiar.
Right? Whoops.
Deja
How did
vu
that
right
happen? So that happened, and his other line of business was distributing products to vending machines where his contracts were locked and he could not change his pricing structure. Long story short, he saw me as an opportunity to sue me and take me out of the business completely. It was almost 2 years where he was slandering me, calling me every horrific, immoral thing you could possibly say about a single mother at that point in time. And my attorney, who was amazing, the day before we were scheduled to go to court and have a hearing, a trial about all of this, she called me and she said, "Do you really want to go through with this and let him say all these things about you?" And I said, "You know what? Let him lie on the stand. God bless him. I will let him have his day to lie in front of God and everybody with his hand on the Bible." I said, "I am not that person, and I've got plenty of character witnesses to say that I am not."
I can't even imagine being a single mother going through that. What kept you going for the fight?
My integrity and every single person I've ever come in contact with on the planet would stand there, and if they had to testify, that courtroom would still be filled to this day. So I was not concerned about it at all. The next morning I woke up ready for court, and the phone rings at 6:45, and she said, "He wants to write you a check and settle out." I said, "Take that while the ink's wet."
Right, don't let him back out. And from there, what were your next steps?
Oh, I sold out of the franchise as soon as I could.